Welcome to another episode of Swoon-Worthy, a podcast dedicated to movies and series set in different time periods. For this episode, we are going to cover what many consider to be a quintessential period drama, A Room with a View from 1985. It's the ideal period drama cast in two idyllic period drama settings, Italy and England. Directed by James Ivory and produced by Ismail Merchant. Together, they are known in the movie industry as Merchant Ivory. And we want to dig into this movie, the plot, the production, the costumes, and the stars that made it so special. We're also thrilled to have our friend Stephanie back for us with this episode. If you tuned into our Moulin Rouge episode earlier this season, you'll know Steph brought some great insights as a period drama lover, movie enthusiast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be back.
Great. And hi, Kayla, my co-host over here.
Hey.
Okay. All right. So I want to first ask you both, what are your initial thoughts about this movie? When did you first see it? Do you love it? Do you not not love it? I don't believe that you're gonna say no. But
Yeah, I first watched it when I was in college, I believe, because I was very obsessed with Sherlock. And Rupert Graves plays Lestrade in Sherlock. And I think I was on his IMDb just looking around one day and I saw A Room with a View and I was intrigued. And then I saw the cast and I was like, well, I have to watch this. And I watched it and I loved it. It's just such a magical movie.
It really is. And yeah, Rupert Graves is so young in this. He's a baby.
Yes, he's so cute.
So adorable. And Kayla, what about you? Is this is a more recent one for me. I don't think you and I watched this growing up.
Well, I've heard of it from Gilmore Girls because there's a scene where Rory gets back from Italy with her grandmother, and then Lorelai and Rory are watching that first scene where they're by the windowsill, and Lorelai's like, "Wow, mom, she looks good." Like they're pretending like it's her grandmother and Rory.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We didn't grow up watching this one, but it sounds like we both kind of watched it when we were a bit older, or all of us really, Stephanie, you in college.
Mhm.
So that's cool. But then, 1985, I'm sure some people watched it back then and were like, this is a great movie. I know it was nominated for multiple Oscars, to come three.
Mhm.
So yeah.
It's so
Sorry.
funny that it was made in the 80s to me because, like, when you think about the fact that it's right in the middle of the 80s, but it's like such a convincing period drama.
That's
It's
a good
just so
point.
fascinating to me.
No, that's such a good point.
Point because I was like, I would love to kind of guess when certain period films are made, and I couldn't tell. I was like, I was like 70s, early 2000s. Like, I can't
Who knows? Yeah. So Helena Bonham Carter, I think this is her first feature film, like maybe the first one in theaters or something with her. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was what, 18, I
Hmm.
think.
18 or 19. Yeah.
18 or 19. And just the sweetest little face ever. And her hair is perfect for the Edwardian time period. The costume she wears. I mean, she just looks straight out of a painting, like a Monet, the girl with the umbrella in the field, and even in the book, they kind of like on the cover, it's like straight from the book is you know what I mean? And then let's just keep talking about the cast. So right there at the beginning, you also get Dame Maggie Smith in her
She's
element.
the best. She's so funny in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think she got the best supporting actress Oscar nomination, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And some people who may only know her from Downton Abbey, like seeing her in this, it's just perfect. Like you couldn't imagine anyone else in this role as the chaperone who's a bit fussy, a bit protective, but then also just, I don't know, she's always apologizing and always like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just great. As you were saying, Kayla, with the Gilmore Girls comment, it opens up in that first scene where they're the two of them so Helena Bonham Carter as Lucy Honeychurch, and Dame Maggie Smith as cousin Miss Bartlett, Charlotte Bartlett, I believe. They're right at the window, and they're just already complaining kind of at the, oh, they don't have a view, and it's just like, oh, poor me, poor us. But I love that. And also worth mentioning that this is based off the book, right, by Ian Forster, 1908. So this is definitely like Edwardian, a little bit after the turn of the century. And class is important in this, so we'll probably come across that as we go through this. Manners and etiquette and all of that, and how people are perceived. And they go into the dining room, and there's just this great scene. So I think we should talk about this scene, and we get to introduced to more characters.
Okay, so we are in the dining room of this hotel. Is that what you would
Yes.
call it? Is it a hotel?
Yeah, they call it the pensione.
Yes. Okay. I'm not well traveled, listeners, so I don't know these things. But yes, we meet up in a dining room, and this is where we meet the supporting characters, and we get to see them interact for the first time. And it sort of sets the tone for the film and how funny it's going to be,
Yeah.
and how they're all going to interact with each other.
Yes. And okay, so you asked about, like, is it a hotel? And I feel like, yeah, so this is part of the travel setting back in Edwardian times. And I'm also kind of thinking Titanic. They get on the cruise, and they're sitting in dining rooms at a big table with a bunch of people in your class, in your kind of um the same ranks as you. And so it's kind of like that, I feel like. And also, young people back in that time period would get to go on their grand tour. So it was very common for British and even Americans to be able to go tour Europe at a certain age. So I feel like that's Helena's character's moment here.
Why did we get rid of that?
That
That's awesome.
would be great. Yes.
Yeah, so cool. That's part of why this movie is so lovely, because like literally no one has a job. They're just
Right.
like enjoying life. And it's like, what's that like?
I know. And we're introduced to, I think the first voice you hear in the dining room is Dame Judi Dench as Miss Lavish, Eleanor Lavish. And I don't know if at this point she's published novels before, or if she's just working on a novel, but she's talking kind of above the rest of them, and very authoritative, very
I
Kayla
was
shaking
gonna
her head.
say that like every movie she's in, if I'm like, because I have ADD, sometimes I'm like distracted when I'm watching a movie. But whenever she starts talking, I'm like, whoa, like it's Dame Judi Dench. Is that
Yeah. Mhm.
so? I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa, like she kind of
Commands your attention
yeah.
for sure.
She really
And
does. And the way she talks too is very funny. Like the dialogue is so
yes.
funny. Like there's one point where she's like, observe my foresight. And she like has a blanket or something. And it's just so funny.
Yeah, and they're talking about flowers and their favorite flowers, and she's like, I'm more of the tempestuous rose. Like, she's just
Yeah.
great. No, that is so true. And then other people at the table, you hear Mr. George Emerson and his father. But actually, no, George Emerson doesn't talk. He's pretty quiet, but his father starts talking. And there's a scene where he turns to one of the older women and says, like, are you drinking lemonade? And she's like, yes. Yeah. And then he's like, no, that's acidity, very bad for your stomach. And if you notice, there's one of the Miss Allens in the background, one of the older women. She goes, oh, because mentioning stomach back then was like, no, 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 you don't mention that word.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't know. I feel like I kind of feel Miss Allen. I don't like to talk about things like that in public. So I'm like an old Edwardian woman where
You are.
like, no, things should be kept to themselves about stomachs. Am I the only one that feels that way?
Yes.
I'm strange. But anyways, Okay, so so we're getting a little bit of Mr. Emerson and his son, played by Julian Sands, and I think it's pronounced Sands, not Sand. Sands. Is
Yeah,
that
I've
yeah?
always heard Sands.
Sands. Julian Sands, and he's 27, I believe, in this. Should we talk about now that we just want to honor him with this podcast too because of his tragic death that happened just last year?
What?
Yeah. He was hiking in Los Angeles in, I think, a pretty treacherous mountain area and basically went missing for several
Months,
months.
yeah, like
And then
6 months or something.
yeah.
And I think the only kind of silver lining in this is he was doing something he loved. I think he loved nature and hiking and being adventurous, but it is tragic though.
Yeah, you can definitely read about it, but it's very sad and seems like he was very well loved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, you know, this movie though, just really what a fabulous performance from Julian Sands. And so want to highlight that throughout this podcast and the chemistry between him and Helena, which in the dining room, do you sense chemistry when you look at them? Like when they're kind of exchanging the first couple glances? What do you think?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I love that they're both like on the quieter side
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of like the young people with the very sort of obnoxious older people. And yeah, I do think they have wonderful chemistry right from the start.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that does tend to happen if you have a parent who's very boisterous. Sometimes the child is a bit more quiet and subdued. And so at the dinner table, but then okay, we got to talk about the plate of vegetables that he tilts upward and it's this question mark. So great. I love that. It's so quirky. And to see quirky in like a 1985 traditional period drama, it's just great.
Did she even see that? Because I like when I was watching it, I didn't see her like
Hard
actually
to say. It's
face.
hard to say. Yeah, we don't get reactions. I don't know. I don't know. But so I did just revisit the book and dug a few things out of there. So do you want me to read kind of why the question mark is a thing with him, the
Yes,
character?
I
Yeah.
would love to because I didn't really get that either.
Yeah. Because when you first look at it, you're like, okay, he's quirky. That's cool. But like, what? So, and later, okay, first off, one other thing, the movie is very true to the book. There is some whimsical. Ian Forster's great. Also with Howard's End, very, lighthearted, but then has some great serious moments underneath, right? Um, and in this one, I would say a lot of the lines from the movie are direct from here, which is cool. But then the way it's interpreted is just perfect. Um, but so there's the part where Miss Honeychurch is talking to the father Emerson um, in the church, the cathedral. So we're looking at George. They're both looking at George, and Mr. Emerson says to Miss Honeychurch, like, I don't believe in world sorrow. And she's like, yes, I agree. I don't believe in world sorrow. Then Mr. Emerson says, then make my boy think like us. Make him realize that by the side of the everlasting why, so I'm thinking question mark, why, there is a yes, a transitory yes. So I think he's just concerned with questions of the universe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense to you. Yeah. Like philosophy, why do we exist? Existentialism, maybe a bit. And but with that, you could either take that and be very kind of sad and despondent, or you could take all these questions and you could be very happy. And I think we see both of that from George.
Yeah, I love that because he does seem like someone who does kind of question why things are the way that they are,
Mm-hmm.
and like being in this I guess like the class that he's in and having to act a certain way. Obviously, his dad isn't very good at that either, and so he's
Yeah.
probably just always been around a lot of like stuffy upper class people.
Yeah. Yeah. And with them also, just from the book, it feels like they're a little out of place. Like some people don't accept them and some do. So they're kind of maybe on the cusp of the class of like being, yeah, you probably got that.
That's a good
Um, and so we have different people having different opinions of the Emersons. And Lucy, she likes the old man, she says in the book, and she's just kind of curious about George at first. So then there's the whole thing about the taking the room, and the father's like, we have rooms, we have rooms with views, we don't care about views, you care about views, we should trade. And that whole exchange is so funny.
Yes.
And then they don't take it initially, but then Mr. Beebe comes in. Mr. Beebe, and he's able to act as a third party, a mediator between them, and he facilitates this. Kayla, did you understand that whole bit, like why they wouldn't take the rooms?
No, but I thought it was funny how she got so offended and they left the room. And so what was that about?
So I think like obligation, like she talks about like we don't want to be under obligation to them to like return a favor.
Yeah, it was very funny how she like couldn't possibly approach the man after leaving the dinner and talking to Mr. Beebe and asking him to be a mediator. It was just funny how she like there's no way she would have approached him and talked to him about this.
Yeah.
It was just funny.
Yeah, this like etiquette, it's very against what George and his father feel. Like they feel like you shouldn't have these illusionary, these walls built up that are not real between people. It should be very human, and your interaction should be very natural. But then Lucy and all most of the other cast has been brought up to just follow these rules, and they're going to stick to those rules. But then what's great is throughout this, you see Lucy, those walls are coming down. So she's kind of becoming more human and less concerned about, about what's right and what she really feels.
Yeah, you can tell that she is a bit of a free spirit,
Yeah.
but she kind of just isn't allowed to be, I think, especially with Charlotte.
Especially with Charlotte. Exactly. She has a bit of a bohemian spirit underneath, but it takes George to really bring it out of her. And so we even see that with her playing the piano. So in the book and in the movie, it's great because Mr. Beebe is watching her play the piano and is like entranced. She's great. She's passionate with the music. She picks Beethoven over some more stodgy composers, maybe you'd say. And then he often says stuff like, if Miss Honeychurch ever takes to live as she plays, it will be very exciting for both us and her. So even he recognizes the free spirited underneath her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I just love like the way this is written. It's just so good.
It's so great. So great. And then
not to sidetrack you, but is the book really good? Like, is it an easy, fun read?
Yeah, I would say I picked it up a long time ago and I couldn't get through it because sometimes for me, with some earlier writing, things don't make sense as much.
Yes.
This was one where by seeing the movie, it really helps you to get through the book and enjoy the book because you can visualize things. So it adds to your movie experience too, because you can understand some of the underlying feelings and the motives. But I will say I didn't get through it before seeing the movie.
Yeah.
If that helps.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. I figured you had read the book and that we would talk about that. I've never read it, but I've been curious.
Yeah.
So,
and then Howard's End is also wonderful, both the book and the movie with Helena Bonham Carter and Emma Thompson, and even the mini series with Haley Atwell and Joseph
boy
Quinn.
Joe Quinn.
Yes. And so recommend both of those. And then in school, in college, I read another Forster book, A Passage to India. And I want to reread that now. Because in my head, it's not as whimsical and fun, but I need to reread it because that was probably just in college when I was like thinking everything was a chore. So yeah. Okay, so let's get into the Italy scenes. Okay, so first up, we have the scene in some of the streets, the courtyards, the squares, and then the cathedrals of Florence. So they're going on the tour, and in the movie, we have Miss Lavish and Miss Bartlett, so the two dames, Dame Maggie Smith and Dame Judi Dench, going out together to tour. In the book, there is a scene where Miss Lavish and Miss Honeychurch go first into the city. Yeah. And Miss Lavish ditches Lucy. She just like goes off and leaves her. And Lucy's kind of lost. And the book has a quote saying, "If you bring me luck, we shall have an adventure. Two lone females in an unknown town." Now, this is what I call an adventure. And Kayla, that made me think of Northanger Abbey a little bit, where the quote, I believe, is, "If adventures will not befall a young lady in her own village, she must seek them abroad." So that's a Jane Austen Northanger Abbey quote. And I feel like this has a bit of Northanger Abbey vibes to it, as far as a young woman who hasn't really had adventure. She's been brought up by all the right rules, but it takes some kind of an experience to really widen her horizons. So I thought that was kind of cute. And this, and in fairness, Miss Bartlett, Charlotte, so Maggie Smith's character, really needs Miss Lavish to kind of break her out of her shell too, played by Judi Dench. What do you think about the two of them? They're kind of opposites.
They're so fun to watch together. Maggie Smith's reactions to everything around her are so funny. And her physical comedy in this movie is so good. But yeah, the two of them together, it's the best. I could watch them forever. But I loved that comment about them being two women alone exploring, because it really probably was not that common.
No, but I think when you have a companion that's a little more adventurous, it'll kind of bring that out of you. And Miss Lavish is perhaps a good influence, I don't know, to Miss Bartlett. And the whole thing about the Baedeker, so that's like a guidebook, right? A classic British guidebook. Apparently there was like two of them, two well-known ones, and the author chose this one to feature in the book. So she's like, "Put down the guidebook, you should just feel and see." It's just cute. Yeah. And then we're in the cathedral, Santa Croce. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. And we meet the Reverend Eager, the English chaplain in Florence, giving, your traditional tour in the cathedrals. And I love how he's just telling people to look left and then telling people to look right. And like that part cracks me up every time. So that's Patrick Godfrey. Kayla, you probably won't. Stephanie might know Patrick Godfrey. Do you know who this actor is and what they've been in that we would know about? You don't know?
Go ahead.
This is no. This is great. This is so funny. I did not recognize this person, and then it kind of clicked when I saw the name on the opening credits. Kayla, this is Leonardo da Vinci in Ever After.
Really?
Playing the Reverend Eager. That's our fairy godmother from Ever After, Leonardo da Vinci. Like, blows my mind. That doesn't even look like him.
Tying it back.
But his voice is a bit, if you think of his voice, looks like rain. Like you kind of hear it a bit. But yeah,
I love that.
Isn't that crazy?
I love those little discoveries when you're like, oh, it's that person.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I never noticed it until this last time I watched it. But it's so cool. And then Mr. Emerson shouting over him about the air balloon. Like, I don't know. He's just so funny. I don't remember this actor's name. But he is great as well.
Denholm Elliott.
There we go. Denholm Elliott. Just perfect for the part.
Yes, he's so great.
And this is where Lucy and Mr. Emerson talk a bit about George, the questions of the universe. And she says, "But why should this make us unhappy? Let us love one another and work and rejoice." So Lucy right now is of the mind that you can question the universe, but let's just be happy about it. No need to brood. But I think George just really needed some romance in his life, and he's about to get it. I do love the scene where the beggar in the church is like, or cathedral, is trying to bother him, and he just like falls down onto his knees to pretend like he's praying. Like that's a great physical comedy part too, right?
Yes, it is.
Then we have what is kind of like the main climax of a lot of events, the something that happens to young Lucy and George. It happens to them together. So there's a shared experience here. This man gets like stabbed in the square and dies, and Lucy, as a young sheltered 18-year-old, sees this. And they do a good job of filming it too, because it is kind of grotesque and like shocking.
But yeah, it is so it's very cool the way that it's shot. And all of the young Italians, they're in black as opposed to all of the, tourists. They're in like the white, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later.
No,
But
that's great. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that.
like the contrast of that. And I was watching this video on YouTube that it's James Ivory and also the director of photography, or the cinematographer, talking about the filming and all kinds of things. And they talked about this scene and how it was actually just difficult to film in Florence because there was all this traffic and all these tourists. And so it was kind of hard for them to get all these shots. But when they were filming the scene where the man who is murdered is being carried away, it's a very like, I don't know, it's a really cool scene, as grotesque and
Yeah.
maybe unpleasant as it is kind of beautiful in a way.
Mhm.
And there's this one part where a hand just comes in front of the camera. I don't know if you noticed that, but it was a complete accident. But
Oh,
I guess they thought it was like very cool and they just left it in there. And
that
they were
is
just
cool.
trying to get it shot and get it done. And someone accidentally like stuck their hand out. Or no, actually, I think the cinematographer said that the camera was just getting so close to this man's face that someone was like trying to stop the camera or protect
Oh.
him. And that's what it was. But
I
anyways,
really, no, that's so cool. I want to rewatch it now, that scene specifically.
I
That's
think it's
right.
so beautiful. And it kind of looks like a painting too, like when you see him being carried away.
Yes. The whole movie kind of looks like a painting too, right?
100%. Yeah.
Like different paintings, different scenes. They just do such an amazing job. But now I really want to go back and watch that whole scene again. The guy that gets murdered, his eyes are just like very vibrant, and
Say he did a really good job. Like I was like, did they really film someone getting killed? Like this is crazy.
it kind of makes you feel something, like maybe a little. Some movies can make you feel nauseous. I don't know if that's, I'm talking about my stomach. Oh no. um I daren't, no.
I think it did.
But yeah, so very cool scene. And then you can see how Lucy fainted from this, because she is probably this is totally not what she was expecting. And George Emerson just swoops in. She swoons, he swoops, and it's perfect. Really, he was there for her.
He was. He really was. Yeah, it's definitely a swoon-worthy scene. She swoons and we swoon too.
Lots of swooning going on. And I love how she hears her being, trying to do what's right. And she doesn't want to be under obligation to him, because that's kind of what Charlotte was saying. So she tries to run away. And he's like, sit down. Like, no, you obviously are not in the state to be moving on your own. Like, and then she tries to distract him. And then he's like, if you want your photographs, you better sit still. So he goes and retrieves her photographs. There's blood on him and he doesn't know what to do about it, which is cute. And then they go to the river. What
I
kills
like
off?
how he just throws them in the river in front of her instead of saying anything. She's like, I'm pretty sure you just threw my things, my photos in the water. He's like, oh yeah, there was blood on them. Like,
Yeah. No, it's totally adorable though, because in the book, he's like, he doesn't know what to do. Like, he's just kind of being awkward, right? And he's like, probably I think she's talking and he's like concerned about how she's going to take this. And so he just tosses him in the Arno.
do something. Just like,
But so this is the whole thing. It's just so crazy. So in the book, they like start walking together and they're walking towards the pensione. And they know which way to go in the street together. They don't even have to talk. They're like, I guess what I'm saying is there's this shared experience and they're both feeling it, and it's something they didn't expect. And I don't know, it's just so cool. How am I making sense?
What's cool?
Absolutely.
Okay. No, it's vague, so it's hard to say. It's like they're both feeling something at the same time.
Oh, I know what you mean. No, when two people go through something kind of traumatic, it kind of bonds them.
Yeah, like Titanic. Yeah. We just, we're gonna go back to Titanic. No, but yeah. Like what do you say?
I said, let's talk about Billy Zane.
Let's
get it over with.
Love it. It will come back there eventually. But yeah, so she says, try not to, she asked him like not to tell anyone how she reacted. She feels foolish. She tries to keep it very polite, and he's like, something's happened to us. Something's happened to me and you. And we can't return to the old life. We can't just go back to normal. Like, we're now intimate, I think is what it is. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love how you describe their connection, like how it's kind of an unspoken connection, but like we feel it, they feel it, and they're reacting to it very differently. Right. She's like, oh, I got to run away from this. And he's just like leaning in.
Yes, he is so leaning in. And later back at the place, she says, and this is from the book, for the real event, whatever it was, had taken place, not in the loggia, so not in the square, but by the river. So to her, the real event is the river, them talking by the river. To behave wildly at the sight of death is pardonable, but to discuss it afterwards, to pass from discussion into silence, and through silence into sympathy, that is an error, not of startled emotion, but the whole fabric. There was really something blameworthy, she thought, in their joint contemplation of the shadowy stream, in the common impulse which had turned them into the house without the passing of a look or word.
Ooh,
was that too long?
No, I love that.
So for her, she feels it too. It wasn't about the death scene in the square. It was about them coming together to talk about it afterwards and that shared experience. So something happened. They felt it.
I just love the shot of them talking by the river too. And that's another thing that they talked about in that video on YouTube that I watched. Again, they had traffic right behind them because it was a road. And so that's why they shot it from like down below so that you could only see like their faces in the sky. They had to shoot it weirdly, but I thought it looked really beautiful.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have even known. Yeah.
You would never know that this was in the 80s.
That's so great. They did a great job. Really fabulous. Also the costuming. So Jenny Beavan and John Bright, they took home the Oscar for this one. And Jenny Beavan, so Ever After, speaking of that one, just fabulous Oscar winning designer. And then along with John Bright, and they worked with all the Merchant Ivory films, I believe. And her outfits are always so beautiful. So this was the time with the sort of the two-piece dress, I think is what this described, like the blouse and then usually a belt with the trumpet skirt, the hat, the gloves, the accessories, the umbrellas, the parasols or whatever. It's just so put together and beautiful. But also you got to think it's got to be hot in the summertime.
Oh yeah, it must be so hot when they're like climbing those hills later on in the movie. Yeah. I'm just like sweating for them.
I know. And then the men too, are kind of wearing layers and hats and overcoat type things, jackets. I'm less familiar with like the men's fashion, but yeah. So okay, so then they drive out in the carriages to see a view. So here's where we were talking about a room with a view in the beginning. They're going to see a view. Italians drive them, is what it says. And I love how there's the driver, the kind of swoon-worthy Italian driver, and the beautiful, and the curly hair. Okay. And the beautiful lady, blonde, angelic woman next to him. And he's like, oh, it's my sister. But they're like, Canoodling, Kayla, is that your word?
Canoodling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was very swoon-worthy. Too bad he wasn't in more of the movie.
It's a shame. And this is another part where we have the two different types of people. The person, the Reverend Eager, saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. This is not acceptable." And then Mr. Emerson saying, like, let them be happy with each other. It's so hard to find happiness in life. Like, let them canoodle.
Then they just ditched the girl. They're like, "Hop, get off, or stop." Like,
But I feel like she belongs to the Italian countryside. Like, she's just gonna go back to her little nymph cave. I don't know.
nymph kid.
Just frolicked off into the field somewhere. Another carriage. Who knows?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she's so pretty. And he's pretty. Okay, so then they get to their fields and their views, and they kind of separate off. And it's clear that Miss Lavish and Miss Bartlett, Eleanor and Charlotte, want to be together to gossip and chat without Lucy. The book even calls Lucy a slighted third. Miss Lavish pulls out her Macintosh squares, little blankets to sit on, and she only has two.
That's when she says, "Observe my foresight."
Oh.
She
I
holds them
love
out.
that. That's so great. She does have foresight. And oh yes, she travels with them. And then oh my gosh, Charlotte is like trying to, she like kind of makes Lucy feel guilty for being there. She won't be upfront and say like, go away, like we want to be by ourselves. She has to put on the guilt trip, like, I've not had rheumatism for years. If I feel a twinge, I shall stand up. Like, what?
I wonder if Miss Lavish is a lesbian. That'd be
Maybe,
so cool.
maybe Miss Lavish. Oh yeah, Eleanor. You're talking about the writer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love that. I'm just gonna make that canon, and
There you go. Yes, and I feel like she's had intrigue. She's had an exciting past. We just will never know.
yeah, love that.
And I was gonna say, Lucy eventually takes the hint and leaves, and they get to just sit and gossip and talk about things. And this is where I was thinking, I think I sent both of you that video of the two of them. Oh no, it was Dame Maggie Smith honoring Judi Dench at an award ceremony or something, saying how, you know, they had been friends on the stage and in the theater, the Old Vic. And then in this movie, they got to be together and have fun. And they were just giggling the whole time together, the actresses. Like,
Oh,
so cute. Oh, they're the same age, I believe, in this. They're the same age. Both born in 1934.
Wow, that's so wild. So they were like in their 50s.
Yeah,
in this.
like 50, 51,
dang.
like 90 now.
Oh my God. Are they still in movies?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
still in movies. And I know that I saw also a funny thing recently where Maggie Smith was like, at a certain point, I had to get out of Downton Abbey because it made no sense for my character to be alive still. I would have been like 110. So that was funny.
What do you have to do to become a dame?
To become a dame, I believe you just have to make a significant contribution. And for them, it's theater and film. So that's why a lot of actors who have been in the biz for a while get honored in that way.
Okay, cool.
And got to talk about Maggie Smith's sons who are actors. One of them, Toby Stevens, is like in so many cool period dramas and Black Sails. Yeah, look up Toby Stevens. And he makes an excellent Mr. Rochester in a BBC Jane Eyre. And then in Black Sails, I love Black Sails. I'm so glad they put it on Netflix because I think more people got into it.
Oh my gosh, he looks just like her.
He's
I'm
great.
like, God.
Nepo baby, but in the best sense and like a legit sense.
I mean, it happens. You know, you can't control it sometimes.
So that's them over there in the grass. And then we have George climbing a little tree, shouting, beauty, espoir, verite, trust, joy. Okay, this is like a Moulin Rouge callback, right, Steph?
I was about to say,
Yeah.
yes, he's our little Christian.
Yes, freedom, beauty, truth, and love. It's like this bohemian mantra, dogma, creed. You knew it.
Just needs to break out into song.
There you go.
Wow.
So, and that's I mean, it's kind of the right time period, like the turn of the century. So you have people who were being a little more bohemian out there, and George is one of them, and his father too. So cute, but it's so funny. He's just like falling out of the tree. Yeah,
He's such a character. Like, what a goofball.
such a goofball. And Steph, our Moulin Rouge episode was so fun with you. So I thought that was fun that we got to talk about Moulin Rouge just for a second.
Yes. I didn't even think about that as sort of a tie-in, but you're so right.
If y'all haven't heard our Moulin Rouge episode, go check it out.
Please do. Okay, so Lucy takes the hint and she goes off and she's like, I'll go find Mr. B because she's like friends with Mr. B. He's like, they're cool. And so she goes to the carriage to ask the pretty Italian man where Mr. Beebe is. This Italian man just assumes, oh, she wants the young guy. So she takes him to George in the field of poppies and the barley field. And
Yes.
thank goodness he does, because we have a very romantic scene. And I'm so curious what you guys think of this scene.
Yes. So I watched a little interview with Helena Bonham Carter about this. Have you seen it where she talks about the kiss? Well, she talks about how like they waited for days and days to like find the right location for this, because I guess in the book it's very specific. What is it supposed to be? It's cornflowers that it's supposed to be, like
Right.
blue.
Right. I think it's supposed to be, hold on. It's supposed to be, it's not poppies in the book. Is that what you're getting at?
Right. Yeah, they just couldn't find the right setting, so they were like one day they just were like we got to do it. So they just kind of went for the kiss, and so that's what we got. Just like a hurried version of this epic kiss, but it was so good.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so good.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I think I know what you mean, because I think it's like you said, cornflowers or violets. And then this one, you get the red poppies, but it works. And it cinematically, I mean, red and blue both pop on the screen anyway. So it's like a barley field. It's so golden, pretty. And in the book, it's just like she kind of falls into the field and he's just like, he sees her and he's just like in love. And he just makes his way over and kisses her.
He just acts on it.
He just acts on it. And you know what?
He does what he feels.
And
Which
she
so
feels
many
it too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she does. No. So many of us don't do that though, and it's just like kind of admirable that he just doesn't care.
He doesn't care, but he reads, I think he senses from her, like it's not like an intrusion, like she feels something too, right? Like it's
Right. If she didn't feel something, then this would be a different story and it would not be good. But yes, exactly. Yeah, he knows what they have and he's trying to show her like
yes.
yeah.
Well said. That's exactly right. Um it's almost like, I don't know, it was meant to be, and later they do talk about fate a bit. Um and this whole scene, this is the perfect Edwardian ensemble too. So she's in all white, the puffy sleeves, the lace, the matching accessories we were talking about earlier. She just looks perfect to a
Yeah.
T. Oh, I love her looks.
I know. Yeah, her costumes are beautiful and she reuses multiple pieces, which makes it more realistic. And I think that's so cool. But yeah, beautiful. Just like you said, like a painting. Everything in this looks like a painting.
Yes. Oh, and her hair is like braided. In this scene, it's braided nicely behind her with the pretty white ribbon. But she's got the volume because she's got that curly hair. And Kayla, this also kind of reminds me of Tuck Everlasting, like Winnie's ensemble with Alexis Bledel, same time period, and just perfect. Perfect look. So then her chaperone, Charlotte, catches her and him, and she stops this. And later, she pulls her away. She's like, Lucy. Later, they're in the room together back at the hotel, and she's like, what would you have done if I had not stopped you? And she's like, I cannot think. It doesn't matter. You did come and stop me. Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Kayla, were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. And they plan to flee to Rome, and they're acting all like this huge, thing has happened, which it has back then. I mean, this would have been like, such a shocking event. And
like blackmail her or something because what's her name did something or do you remember they're talking and they're like, oh well, this will just be between us.
You're talking about because Charlotte does that thing again where she kind of like makes Lucy feel guilty rather than coming out and saying like, I don't want your mother to know about this because she's going to be mad at me. She kind of she just sugarcoats it like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be your chaperone, so it's really my fault. And you tell your mom everything. So if it gets out, then she's gonna be so mad at me. And then Lucy's like, I think we should just keep it between ourselves. She's like, so funny. A little bit.
Lucy really wanted to tell her mom about this. Isn't that so strange? Like we would all just want to hide it from our moms, right? Or maybe not. Maybe y'all.
I think we both tell our mom like everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that's how it is in her
I had
household.
told Carly something recently, and I had only been talking to my mom, and then I go to tell Carly, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I already knew." It's like,
oh yeah, sorry about that. No, I don't know. It's just different relationships, but I feel like she does have a good relationship with her mom as far as like a friend confidant, and like again, not to say that you don't, some people just don't tell their mom, about romantic elements.
Yeah.
especially back then. I mean,
Back then.
Yeah. She was adamant though. She like really wanted to tell her mom.
Yeah. But
how old is she in this supposed to be? 16?
I think a little older, maybe 17, 18. Or she says the next year she's going to come into her money. So that could be anything from 18 to early 20s. And I don't know if this is going to spoil it, bringing this up from the book. In the book, it might be a little less romantic, a little more conventional. It almost insinuates that it was just a kiss on the cheek in the book, not even this passionate kiss on the lips from George and Lucy.
Boo.
So
when was this book written? Sorry, is that dumb?
Yeah, no, 1908.
Oh well, then yeah, he can't write about that.
Okay, so then we have part two. Huh. So then we have part two, where they go to England now. So the whole second half of the movie is set in England, and I love kind of the two parts. It's really quite fun, and we start out seeing young Rupert Graves, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Steph. So adorable, such a period drama staple.
So adorable. Yeah. I love him and his floppy hair.
Kind of Hugh Grant floppy hair. Yeah.
Definitely. Hugh Grant also auditioned for this film, I think. I think I saw that in that video that I watched.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny.
I'm glad he's not in it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. This is the perfect cast, so we don't want to.
Yeah.
However, we might talk about recasting in a little bit. We'll see. But and her mother is perfect for the period too. Just looks straight out of the Edwardian times.
Yeah,
oh
she
gosh.
does. I love her.
Same with, I want to say, Rose's mother in Titanic, Winnie's mother in Tuck Everlasting. Like, they just look so perfect in that setting, that time period. Also in Mary Poppins, the mother, what is her name? Glynis Johns or something. She just passed away.
I forget her name. It escapes me at the moment, but you're right. She did just pass away. What a character in Mary Poppins.
I love her character. Glynis Johns. Yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes is when she's singing about votes for women.
Yes.
And it really makes Mary Poppins like a period drama in my eyes because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Sister suffragette. All right. So they're so cute. The mother has a good relationship with the son too. I mean, they're just so this whole family is adorable together.
Yes, they're so silly too. And I love these reminders that people were silly back then because we don't really think of them as that unless you see like old pictures where people are kind of being silly or making faces or taking
Yeah.
pictures with their dogs or something. But yeah, this family, they're so fun and they love each other and they're very goofy and also talented. Like,
Oh
it-
yeah. They just go to the piano and start playing little jaunty songs together.
yeah, they're comedic songs
They're
that they
comedic songs. Which okay, so now this is a great time to talk about Daniel Day-Lewis.
oh
Oh
my
my goodness.
oh gosh, this performance.
It's probably one of my favorites in a period drama.
I mean, he's just so insufferable.
And hilarious though, like, oh my gosh, insufferable is right. But to take, I can just picture, you can just, so Daniel Day-Lewis is famous for his method acting, I guess you'd call it, right? Stuff's not on your head. So I can just picture him taking the book and just digesting it and then just like making this character come onto the screen. Perfection.
Yeah, I mean,
Perfection.
honestly, when I was watching this, I was like, this guy's interesting. Like, I would probably go with him. Is that weird?
Yes.
Fun to like observe, just like how he talks and like oh,
So funny. He, always interjecting with Italian in the middle of an English sentence, conversazione instead of like conversation, like just, oh my gosh, his pince nez, his, the little glasses that stick on his nose, put together, very, I think the word pretentious does come up in the book, like definitely pretentious and annoying and frustrating, but
he's like
like,
nice though.
no, he is nice.
He's just like in his own world though, because when the other two are canoodling outside, he's just like oblivious and he's right behind them.
He's kind of like Ichabod Crane, I just thought of, like the
But he's
schoolmaster.
even though that's a cartoon, but
It's a story. It's a book too, Kayla.
no, I think he's more attractive than Ichabod Crane.
Okay, so Kayla's feeling vibes off Daniel Day-Lewis
That's
As Cecil Vise.
vibes.
Um, Cecil.
Oh
I
yeah, and
love how she's
name. Like if you name a child Cecil, like that is who they will grow up to be.
Do you want to know a fun fact? This is so dumb, but last time I was here with you guys, I mentioned being in Jurassic World. Well, I played a Jurassic World employee and they gave us actual badges, like employee badges to wear and took our pictures. So it had our real pictures, but not our names. And my name on my badge was Cecil. Like, I don't know. I will never forget that. I'm like, why did you put this name on it? First of all,
Hi,
I'm
I'm
a girl.
Cecil.
That's
I'll
fantastic.
never forget that. But anyways, I was thinking about that when I was watching this. They were saying Cecil. I think here in the US we say Cecil. I'm not
Or
sure.
we just don't say the
I don't
name.
think we say it at all.
Cecilia does, but yeah, I
Celia.
think
Oh yeah, like in Atonement, Cecilia Tallis. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a very British sounding name. Um, so I think Daniel Day-Lewis and Julian Sands were around the same age, 27, 28 during this. Daniel Day-Lewis, his filmography is insane. Like 31 acting credits, but then 3 Oscar wins. It's like the ratio is unbelievable. I mean, he's the greatest actor of our time, right?
Yes.
We can all agree on this.
Yes. I wanted to say a couple of things about this and him just because we could do the whole podcast about him, to be honest. But I was watching a little interview with him about this. And of course, he's like so charming, so different from the character, and also so handsome. So, like, the transformation that he goes through, it even like changes his physical appearance, even though it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he makes himself so rigid.
Yes.
And so, like, the way he holds himself, it just changes everything about him. But he said in this video that Cecil is the sort of person you might meet in your worst nightmare. And that's how I feel about him, because he's like just so conservative and,
But
really
Kayla still would go for him.
Hey, I'm glad Kayla likes him. Someone has to.
Well, yeah, he doesn't think of people as real human beings. He kind of thinks of everything in this
Y'all are really
crazy.
making me question my decisions.
No, but
Think of people as human beings.
well, he doesn't. He kind of thinks of Lucy as a Leonardo subject of a painting. He even calls her like his Leonardo. So he thinks of her as this little, maybe someone to mold and sculpt a little bit and teach. Apparently, so when they're acquaintances, they've been acquaintances, but after she flees Florence, she goes to Rome to stay with them, the mother and him. And that's where he like proposes to her a couple times and she says no. She's probably still getting over the kiss. She never gets over it. And then she goes back to England, and this first scene, we're still in the first scene in England. Sorry, Kayla. He proposes for like the third time and she says yes. And oh my gosh, Rupert Graves as the brother Freddie is like clearly doesn't approve, right?
Yeah. He does
But
not like Cecil.
no, and Mr. Beebe, when Daniel Day-Lewis, I'm sorry, when Cecil gives Mr. Beebe the news that, oh, you know what? I just asked her to marry me and she said yes, her life is about to change. He's like, oh, he's like, darn it. But because he still wants her to, he thinks she has some unhidden depth and free spiritedness, right? um and he says again, does it seem reasonable that she should play the piano so wonderfully and live so quietly? I suspect that one day she will be wonderful in both. The watertight compartments in her will break down and music and life will mingle.
Ugh, I love that.
Yeah, such good quotes. Then we have funny Daniel Day-Lewis as Cecil, where he's just like, Italy and London are the places where I truly belong. Oh,
Yeah. I don't think you belong anywhere, Cecil. I don't know.
and then they have a kiss. We got to talk about their kiss. The
Oh,
most
God.
awkward, wonderful kiss on screen ever.
It's so awkward. It's like just comedy gold.
I don't know how they did it so perfectly because, he kind of asks, which is already a little awkward the way he asks. She like takes her little veil and puts it on her head. And it even says she gave a businesslike lift to her veil. As he approached her, he found time to wish that he could recoil. As he touched her, his gold pince nez became dislodged and was flattened between them. Such was the embrace. He considered, with truth, that it had been a failure. So Daniel Day-Lewis took that and just did it on the screen.
Yeah.
And he just like folds into her, like it's just so great. It's so
It's like she gets like stuck on his glasses or something. Like
it's wonderful. And see, this would have been a pretty romantic setting in the woods. They look the part and he just fails. And it's just, I'm sure, right after that, she has a flashback to her other kiss, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
it's so
felt
good.
I felt the pain when she like after that happened and she started walking again and it was just like like
Yeah.
had to like awkwardly turn and like
She just, she knows she's supposed to be with him. Like she's supposed to marry this guy and like whatever. Even her mother is kind of like gets annoyed by him. Of course, Freddie doesn't like him. Mr. B is like, what? So he's supposed to fit. It doesn't fit. He's just a quirky guy. And she starts to see they might not be great for each other. And at one point in the book, too, and apologies if I'm mentioning the book so much, it's it's a really perfect adaptation of the book. It says like,
Wait a minute.
what?
I was just Googling. Guess what Daniel Day-Lewis's dad's name? Cecil Day-Lewis.
No
No.
way. Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
Is that crazy?
I love that. Okay. So there are some really true Cecils out there. There we go. Maybe his dad was a Cecil. Maybe he modeled the character after his father.
It's fun. I was just gonna say maybe he had those glasses too.
Ooh, maybe.
No, I think he did. Like, I'm looking at pictures and
Oh,
Inspiration.
this guy was.
But he was a poet, so he had emotion. He was
Oh, okay, never mind.
okay. Okay, so in the book, the author addresses the reader saying that Lucy says she loves Cecil and is annoyed by George. But it's the other way around. She's annoyed by Cecil and really loves George.
mm-hmm.
So George gets back into this community, which is so cool. And they even talk about, was this fate? And he believes it's fate. He's like, this is fated. And then I love how Mr. Beebe kind of explains like coincidences can be explained. Think about it. Where did you meet Cecil? At the National Gallery of Art. What were you looking at? Italian art. Oh, and we love Italian art, so that it makes sense. But there's the pond scene. Oh, the bathe in the pond.
When I first saw this, it was shocking to me. To young 20-something-year-old me, I was like, what am I watching?
It's a bit, yeah. You got three grown men, one a little older than the other two, frolicking in the nude in a pond. They call it the sacred lake, but it is a pond. And they're splashing around. They're acting very youthful. We get to see all of Mr. Beebe's.
Beebe.
We get to just see everything about him.
Also, they just met. Isn't it so wild? Like, can you imagine just meeting someone and being like, hey, you want to go for a swim? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then you just strip down.
I know.
Only men can do that.
They were just swinging away. Like,
They were, but yeah, the whole part is funny. We're just like, oh, how do you do? You want to come and have a bathe? And I love that little exchange. And George is like, yeah, sure.
I'm trying to look at the rating, and it doesn't look like it was even given a rating.
Yeah, I don't think it was rated. I wonder, like, it must have just played in like limited theaters. What do you think? I mean, it had to play in theaters because it was nominated for Oscars, so it had to be seen by some people. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think nudity in movies was not that uncommon back then. I feel like there was like a resurgence of like censorship in our lifetime, like in our childhood. I could be super wrong,
I
but
think you're right. I think that stricter ratings were more of a thing like happening in the 90s.
yeah, definitely.
But I mean, it's definitely not targeted towards young people, I feel like the movie, so probably didn't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a very innocent story though, too.
Yeah, like
So
they're
it's
just playing around, like they're not doing anything.
Yeah, so Cecil and the mom and Lucy walk up to, they catch them frolicking, running around in the nude. And it's like, what is it? Lucy like hides behind her umbrella for a second, but then she peeks over it. And
Well,
the
he
mom is like, who are these creatures?
well, he jumps out and like screams and like
Yeah.
was
And
that
that's in the book. That's in the book. He goes, woo.
which one was that again? That did that?
George. He's just a free-spirited man. And Freddie's young. I think Freddie's kind of supposed to be kind of on the younger side, and he's fun and comedic and whatever, silly, goofy. And then Mr. Beebe just gets pulled into this, and he's supposed to be the man of the church here.
not opposed to getting naked out in nature.
Oh my gosh. But
Okay.
it's just such a funny scene. And then Cecil starts to lead the women out of this crazy scene, and he's like whacking the plants, and Just, oh my
I love
gosh.
him.
Kayla wants to marry him so she could just laugh at him. This
He is something else.
so funny. Um, and then and then also we have to just mention all of Lucy's clothes, even in England, are just so beautiful. And that iconic one is she's wearing the light blue skirt with the white top with the little blue flowers. I mean, that's just perfection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh my
it's so.
gosh.
She has a lot of cool belts in this movie too. Like I feel like belts aren't usually as decorative as hers are. It's not the right word, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, certainly. And all of her gloves and hats. And then we have Miss Bartlett coming back into town.
Which everyone is very excited about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they're like, poor Charlotte.
They cannot stand her already.
No, she's like that relative that comes to visit, and you know it's right to host them, but it's like they're just fussy. And like, even from the beginning, she like makes this big thing with the coins, getting the change. And
It's so much.
it's so funny. And that was another part of Cecil's personality where he's just like, I'll take it because Freddie owes me money. And it's just like, he is too much. Um, and they play tennis a lot in England in this second half of the movie, which is so cute. And you get to see Lucy being her sibling, you know, the sibling to Freddie, and like youthful and playful.
Yes, it's very fun to watch them play together and they're really fun as siblings. I really love their relationship.
Yeah. And then she has not as it's not her sibling, but there's another actor, Mr. Bingley in the Pride and Prejudice 1995 is Crispin Bonham Carter. I think it's a relative of Helena Bonham Carter. I mean,
Oh, I
that
didn't know
last
that.
name is
So Crispin's father, Peter Malcolm Bonham Carter, is a third cousin of Helena Bonham Carter.
okay. So they are related.
They're
That,
distant cousins.
with that last name, I mean Bonham Carter.
Yeah, that's interesting. Hmm.
I don't know. Cute little.
Do you know that she's like from nobility on both the English and the French side? I
I
think.
had heard something, but I don't know the details. Do
Really?
tell.
Yeah, she has such an interesting life. I meant to watch it again before this, but there's a great PBS show called My Grandparents' War. I think that's what it's called. It might be something a little bit different, but it's about celebrities whose grandparents participated in World War II in some way. And it just follows like their family history. And it's so good. And there's an episode about her, and her family history is crazy. And the fact that she came out like so like bohemian, like you were describing, and she's just like one of the coolest people ever. And I think it's neat that she came out or that she became that way knowing her background.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when she grows up and she was with Tim Burton for so long, and her movie choices are always dark and kooky and fun, and yeah, just like a always with a little bit of an underlying dark tone to it. I mean, she looks amazing. She's amazing as Bellatrix, and
Mhm.
yeah, Mrs. Lovett. Um,
Hey,
but then you look back at this, and she's just this young, sweet little innocent thing, and it's just so fun to see how she's an actress has grown, but she's still amazing like throughout. And another one with Helena, young Helena, is the Lady Jane movie.
Mhm.
So cute. And right now that's a popular historical figure because of that My Lady Jane mini series, right? Or limited series. I can't remember if it's going to get a second season yet, but yeah, I love her in that movie.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that. So I don't remember it very well, but I need to watch it again. I could watch her all day at any
She's
age.
Yeah, at any age, she just her face is so cute and sweet, and I just want to just like pinch her cheeks a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, I am an old Edwardian lady.
just want to pinch your cheeks.
But she's just got the sweet. And then when her hair is so voluminous and curly and wild, and she just looks like the perfect thing.
It's a lot of hair.
A lot of hair.
Because I feel like her hair is really poofy and tall in this movie, which I know is accurate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think it's really her hair too.
Yeah.
No wig.
I didn't clock a wig, so
Love it. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think Helena is, and Emma Thompson, I mean, the two of them, it's hard to not talk about one with the other. But they're just period drama royalty, and I just love them. Oh,
but also they're also very outspoken too about like societal norms and like the pressures of beauty standards on women and stuff. So it's really cool to see just how iconic they've become in the film industry.
yes, agreed. And there's a cute video somewhere, social media, of Helena Bonham Carter, like finding, like talking on the street with someone with a cat in a stroller or something. There's some video where she's just a cute do you remember this, Stephanie?
I sent that to you.
You
Yeah.
did. You did.
Cat on TikTok, and he just always films like going out on his bike with his cat around London. And there's one day that he just happened to meet Helena Bonham Carter, and she loved the cat, of course.
Aww.
Yeah, and her, just seeing her in real life, like talking like in real life, and she's so sweet and friendly and cute. I just
Yeah, it's the best.
love it. All right, so let's just kind of wrap up our storyline here. So George Emerson is playing tennis with all of them, and then it even says in the book he jumps over the net. So like he's just being very, very in character. And at one point he's sitting there with Lucy and Cecil. Definitely a love triangle here, even sitting down physically. And Cecil's just reading the book. He's just in his own world. I think one of you mentioned earlier, not totally oblivious to the chemistry between these two. Like she's being so cute. She's kind of bossing him around, like, you go get the tennis balls, like go. And then he's like, do you really want me to leave? And she's like, no. And they it turns out that this story has been published in Miss Lavish's book. And so when Cecil reads it out loud, the two of them are looking at each other like, this is what happened. Like, this is finally bringing it out to the open. And it really makes George want to kiss her again. And he does, as you said, I think, Kayla, right in front of Cecil's right there. His nose is in a book, very Ichabod Crane. And yeah, and then she's really dealing with the emotions now. So she goes into the room and talks to Charlotte. And she's like, first off, Charlotte, you said not to tell anyone, and you told your friends who wrote about it in a book.
You blabbermouth, Charlotte.
Oh my gosh. And the Charlotte's like, oh, you'll never forgive me, or something like that. And she's just being very, very Charlotte. And then she's like, I'm just gonna nip this in the bud right now. I'm gonna call George in here and just tell him to leave me alone and never, but this is where it even says the chapter of the movie is the same as in the book, where it's like, Lucy lies to George. So like, she's saying, I don't love you. She totally loves him. And his declaration of love is pretty sincere and sweet and awesome. Mm-hmm. He says everything perfectly. Like, we have to just live and love, and it would get me. It would get me. And then I think even I almost feel like, what do you think? Do you think that Charlotte in the background is kind of like feeling for him?
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely think that her mind kind of changes here.
Mm-hmm. Where she's like, I think he's sincere, and no one really likes Cecil except Kayla. So yeah. And then they go outside. George leaves, and Cecil gets asked to play tennis, and he says no. Like, he just says his thing, does his Cecil thing, and is like, oh, no. And that's the last straw for Lucy. She's like, I can't be with this guy, like, long term. Like, no, nope, done. So they break it off. he's actually pretty cool about it. Like, he's upset, but he's being a gentleman about it. And in the book, it almost seems like he kind of learns from that, or he's like, oh, I'm glad you told me. Like, okay.
Mhm.
But I don't think he would have actually really changed. I think he just kind of,
I think he would have.
okay, Kayla.
I think he was sincere, and I think he learned from his mistake.
There you go. Maybe he did find the perfect person for him somewhere else. It's not Lucy. And then we have kind of like, oh, she's going to go away to Greece. She's still in denial about her feelings for George. And then eventually she talks to the father of George, Mr. Emerson, after Charlotte's talked to Mr. Emerson, I guess. And everything kind of comes out in the open. And the father is so sincere and sweet too. And it's just like, he only did that because I've told him, love is, what you should go for and don't hold back. And he maybe tried when he shouldn't have, but don't hate him. And then she really just has a self realization, like, and she just breaks down and cries.
Yeah. It's so good. I love Mr. Emerson, and I love that she felt comfortable. Well, not necessarily comfortable. I think she was like really warring with herself and her feelings, but she she realizes in that moment like she does love him, and she feels like she can say that to him.
Yeah. You can tell they're going to be like a good father in law relationship. And even in the book, there are moments where the mother actually thinks George is kind of cool and she doesn't like Cecil. So, you can see things working out in the end. Um, oh, and like, I love when Helena just breaks down and cries. Like, her acting is just so cute. And I forgot to mention when she sees Mr. Beebe naked and she just like bursts out laughing. I love that. She just
Yes.
like erupts. So funny. Um okay, so now we have the final scene, and they don't really show us George and Lucy coming together um in like a in England. We just see them back in Florence, back at the room with the view, kissing and loving on each other. And you just see that they're perfect for each other. And she's finally come out of her shell. He's finally got her to open up and be true. And yeah,
Yeah, it's a beautiful ending. I love it.
it is a beautiful ending. So that's that. That's our story, A Room with a View. And do we do it? Do we talk about a recast?
Oh yes, definitely.
Granted, this is, yeah, Kayla says definitely. Now, granted, this is the perfect, we're still sticking with this being the perfect version. But what do we think? Who wants to go first? We'll say a character and then we'll go through everyone's choice. So, who's our Lucy Honeychurch?
I didn't think about a recast because it is so perfect.
I know.
And I know there was also a PBS miniseries, but I haven't watched that.
Yeah, I haven't
But
either.
it's someone young, like actual teenager. I don't want a 30-year-old playing an 18-year-old. Try to think of someone super young.
Do you know who I was thinking? The actress who recently won the BAFTA Young Person Award, Mia McKenna Bruce. Do you know this actress? So they were in The Persuasion That Everyone Hates with Dakota Johnson. But Mia McKenna Bruce played the sister, Mary Musgrove, and I think kind of stole the show for me. And just recently won the BAFTA for the breakthrough performance or something. Oh no, the Rising Star Award. So look her up, Mia McKenna Bruce. What
Love
do you
that.
think? Do you think you can picture her as a Lucy?
Yeah, she has a great like period drama face, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I do think Kayla, I think if this had been 10 years ago, I think Felicity Jones could have done it because she has that like, oh,
Yeah,
what's
I
a
was
girl to
gonna
do?
say we should like put age aside, and like if we were in a perfect timeline where all the actors we like could have
Okay.
been the same age, like who would we choose? Like
Okay.
I think it would be cool to see Rachel Weisz in this.
Ooh, oh, yeah.
Yeah, a young Rachel Weisz would have been very cool.
Spot on, Kayla.
Yay.
Like because young Rachel in period dramas was
Let's
supposed to
do
be
one. Let's do one where it's someone who's actually the right age now, and then one in our perfect universe.
okay. So then what about George Emerson?
Ooh. Ooh. Christian Bale.
Okay. Like a young, yeah, like Lori era. Okay. Stephanie, I have one that I think you and I might be thinking the same thing. What do you think? Or do you
I
have
want to
one?
hear it. I want to hear it. Go for it.
Do we think Josh O'Connor?
Yeah. I mean, he can do no wrong. I love him.
Yeah.
But
And I think
he would be a good Cecil too.
he would be, yeah. You're right. He would be good at Cecil. You're right.
Oh, well, speaking of Cecil, I would have to cast Tom Cruise.
What?
What?
This is blasphemy.
No, I feel like he's
No.
perfect because he's already like that.
Kayla,
What?
shame on you. I thought it was a joke. Stephanie, did you have anyone else for George Emerson?
Well, I didn't say my Lucy.
Oh my gosh, say your Lucy.
But I was thinking Emily Carey. I don't know if y'all know who she is, but she's like 20 years old. She was in House of the Dragon, and she's been in some other things. I think she would be a really good one. She's
Oh,
really
yeah.
beautiful, and
Oh, yeah.
I can see her being good in a period drama in
Yeah,
that way.
I love it.
Wait. When I said that, Stephanie, it looked like you thought I was saying someone else and you were agreeing. So who was that, you think?
I thought you were going to say Jacob Elordi.
Wait, oh my gosh. No, he would be perfect. I'm picturing it. He actually
He
looks kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, very tall and gangly, and he could be like a creepy, like like weird, nerdy person.
No, that's great. No, I was told not to mention him anymore by
I
some
didn't say that.
anyway.
Would never. No, okay. Okay, now we're just going with Cecil, but I know we'll come back to you, Steph, for George. But what about Ben Wishaw for Cecil?
Yes.
Like
He's old,
acting.
but yes, I guess like if we're talking like going back in time,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, he would be great. And also Matt Smith.
Yeah. Matt Smith, yeah. So we have the awkward British. I mean, maybe it's not that hard for a British guy to be like an awkward guy. I don't know.
Ooh, you know who I'd really love to see be George?
Who?
Oh crap, what's his name? The British guy from Northanger Abbey.
Oh, you're talking about JJ Fields because we just want JJ Field and everything.
Yeah, JJ Fields. Can we go back in time so JJ Field can be in all these movies?
Oh, if only. All right, Steph. Sorry, we've been going on
A good George, Dev Patel.
Yeah. No, I want Dev Patel in more like
Everything.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you there. Yeah, it's such an interesting character because he needs to be a bit awkward and silly, but then also quite brave to go up to someone in a field and just kiss them. So it's like, I don't know.
I guess he does kind of need to be like an oddball, like maybe not super conventionally handsome, but still handsome.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I haven't taken the time to think about this, but yeah, he's such a specific character.
So specific. And Julian Sands was so perfect. It's hard to think of anyone other than Julian Sands.
Well, since Stephanie did say someone who's not conventionally handsome and sort of oddball, then that makes me think of Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, a British Ryan Gosling.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine Ryan Gosling in a period film? But like not just the 60s or whatever, but like a legit period film.
We could try it.
Well, and not just the Notebook. Nothing like
Pre-50s or mid century American.
Yeah.
It's called Young Hercules. Ever heard of it?
Oh, I mean,
touche.
I never did watch that, but I probably should watch it because I love Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. My sister and I loved Young Hercules.
Aww.
saying. He's never been in like a British period drama.
No, you gotta. No, I could see him as like a Laurie, but American period drama more than British period drama. I was
Yeah.
gonna say that.
I think
Oh, you know who would have been perfect is Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
Oh,
Heath.
well, yeah.
Oh. Joseph Gordon-Levitt could kind of do something too, like back in the day. I don't know. I love Joseph. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But I picture him as a Heath Ledger lookalike.
Yeah, he's more nerdy high school kid. Like that's what he was
I know
typing.
you're right. You're right. This is a
You
tough
want to know
one.
something funny that Helena Bonham Carter brought up in that video I watched? She said that Julian Sands and John Malkovich were really good friends. And so
Oh,
John Malkovich was just on set knitting, like watching them working, which is really funny.
that is funny. Oh my gosh, that is interesting. Okay, so maybe we've done enough of that. Let's move on to okay, obviously Maggie Smith and Judi Dench cannot be replaced ever, but thinking like who would be good back and forth vibes between two British ladies like chaperone and novelist abroad.
Ooh, I'm thinking.
Should I throw something out there?
Yeah.
Okay. So picturing Miss Bartlett, so Maggie Smith's character, Laura Carmichael, so Edith from Downton, maybe?
Oh,
Maybe too young, but I don't know, like her character, like I love her as an actress and feel like she could play that like chaperone. It's hard to think of anyone but them is the thing.
Yeah.
Stephanie, you have anything?
Meryl Streep.
Well, Mhm. Yeah, Meryl Streep's a good one. There's just so many great actresses of that age, I think, of like
Yeah.
late 30s and beyond. Like there's just so many incredible actresses
Yeah.
that age range.
Ooh, Gillian Anderson could be.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I love her so much. She
Yeah,
can
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking, what do you think? Do you think her for the Miss Lavish role?
For sure, because that's who she is in real life to me. Like she's she's very much like a free spirit, like you know, women can do anything type of
Mm-hmm.
person.
Sorry, yes. And Helena Bonham Carter, if she reprised the role, so she can, or went back into this movie, would she be Miss Lavish or Miss Bartlett?
Bartlett.
I don't Oh, I was going to say I don't think I can see her like
Me
being that
either.
proper, but I would love to see her try for sure.
And Olivia Colman makes me think of Olivia Colman.
Yes, she's a
Yeah.
great for sure. I totally agree. Also, like Keely Hawes, I really like her. I
Mhm.
think she could be a good Charlotte.
Mhm.
She's got the comedic abilities.
Yeah, maybe that's a better age than Laura Carmichael too. I also think Emily Mortimer makes a great like British actress, like who could do period drama pieces, and I could see her being one of them. Um, I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm an Emily Mortimer fan.
So why do you think they haven't redone this story like in a more modern age? Like, you
Do
know,
you mean the setting more modern, or do you mean like
make it,
making it now?
yeah, like make it a newer version or like a mini series or like I don't know, anything.
Well, Steph, you said there was a miniseries. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, there's a miniseries, like I think it's a PBS one from not too long ago.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't know anything about it. I don't remember even hearing about it. I just happened to see it when I was looking up this movie, but yeah,
well,
it's from
from
2007. It's a
okay.
TV movie, so it's not a miniseries.
And Andrew Davies is a writer on this, so I'm sure it's decent because I think as a screenplay writer, like Andrew Davies can do no wrong. But
Mhm.
interesting. Oh,
Oh, yeah,
Lawrence Fox.
Elizabeth McGovern and Timothy Spall are in it.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good cast. Yeah, I mean Elizabeth McGovern is that Kale. That's a Cora Crawley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
I think to answer your question, Kayla, I think this film is just such a classic. Like, I don't think anyone would want to touch it because it was so perfect and so appreciated. And it was also so successful. I mean, it had all the Oscar nominations. And um, yeah, I just don't think you can remake something that Daniel Day-Lewis was in.
Oh,
But
yeah.
also, James Ivory, he's still working. I mean, he wrote the screenplay for Call Me by Your Name. Didn't he win the Oscar for that?
Yes, and the oldest writer to win a screenplay Oscar.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, I just don't think there's a need to redo something when, all of these people are still making really good work. And
Mm-hmm. You're right. And yeah, so looks like it was nominated for 8 Oscars that year. And I believe Merchant Ivory, and there's a third in the picture that we don't really talk about. Ruth Prower Javala, I might be saying that wrong, was the screenplay writer for this and won the Oscar that year. So definitely in the Merchant Ivory production, um, and worked with them on so many things, but you just don't hear Ruth's name as much. Um, and then so Maggie Smith got Best Supporting Actress nomination. Denholm Elliott got Best Supporting Actor nomination. Of course, Best Picture nominee, Best Director nominee, Cinematography nominee. But then it won for art and set direction, costume, and the screenplay.
yeah.
Yeah. And took home a lot of BAFTAs, it looks like. Or, okay, Maggie Smith and Judi Dench won BAFTAs for this. What they did is they made Maggie Smith the Best Actress category and Judi Dench Supporting Actress. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I also read, I don't know how true this is, but I read that Daniel Day-Lewis was supposed to be nominated for an Oscar for this. Like that was the studio push, and
Yeah.
he said he didn't want to be considered. So that's why they pushed Denholm Elliott instead, which he totally deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
He was wonderful.
Be like in a position where you're like, oh no, I don't want to be nominated for an Oscar this year. Like, because I feel like so many actors would like they would never pass that up, you know. Oh, I have
Well,
enough. It's fine. I'll have another one. Like, I'll catch you next time.
yeah, but I think it shows just how cool he is,
Oh, I know, that's what I meant. Like,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, was he when he was younger like this, did he have that sort of like River Phoenix, Phoenix mentality towards the Oscars and stuff? Like, was he kind of like, I don't want to be,
Campaigning.
yeah. I feel like
Maybe.
maybe he did. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But no, Caleb, that was a good point. Yeah. Very, very cool of him to do that. And not many people would.
yeah.
Um, but then yeah, 3-time Oscar winner Daniel Day-Lewis. That just always blows my mind because then sometimes you see these filmographies that have like over 100 acting credits, and then he's been so choosy his whole life, like very particular about what he made. 31, and some of those might be TV movies, so they don't always count. Um, and I know his last one was supposed to be The Phantom Thread, but I don't want it to be. I want more Daniel Day.
Yeah. I don't want it to be his last one either. I feel like maybe he'll come back for something special, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. His wife, guess what her name is?
It's
Yeah.
someone famous, right? Who is it
Her
again?
name is Rebecca Augusta Miller, Lady Day Lewis.
That's beautiful. I want to be Lady too. That's so fun. Is she no, she's not an actress. I'm thinking of someone else.
She's a writer, and I think she's a director too. I'm not sure.
Ooh.
But she definitely wrote a movie that he was in, where what's her name? Camilla Bell or something? A young actress from like the 90s
Oh,
who we
Jurassic Park 2.
yeah, it may have been her. But she plays his daughter. Do you remember this movie? It was a small movie, but I think his wife
Was
wrote
it
it.
like the little princess or something?
No, this one was set in like modern times,
Hmm.
and he's sick, and they have a very like weird relationship.
Hmm.
Huh.
What's it called?
But yeah,
Sorry.
Camilla Bell, she's that actress, Kelly. You would recognize her.
No, I know. She's in When a Stranger Calls. One of my favorite movies from 2000,
Is that
2000.
the one with the Razor cell phone?
I don't know. She gets called on a house phone a lot because she's babysitting.
The Ballad of Jack and Rose. That's what I'm talking about.
Is it
It's a,
about Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt Bukater?
it is. No. But yeah, it was written and directed by his wife.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, okay. Rebecca Miller, Lady Day Lewis. That's awesome. I want
Oh,
to.
and Jen Malone is in it. Paul Dano. Anyways, that's just a weird movie that I remembered. I was on a real Daniel Day-Lewis kick for a time there, and I watched like all of his movies.
So good. Do you have a favorite?
Oh man.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, he's just so incredible in like Lincoln and
Mm, there will be
uh,
blood.
There Will Be Blood. Yeah, those two are just kind of
Mhm.
like the top tier in my book. But I mean, Last of the Mohicans is one, and maybe not so great that he played it,
Yeah.
but
Well, and then The Age of Innocence is like another like quintessential period drama where you just perfect for the time period. So this one's more like uh the Gilded Age.
right. Yeah, I think I have that on DVD. I loved that one for sure. Winona Ryder and Daniel Day-Lewis. What a
Mhm.
combo.
Yeah, for sure. So there you have it. We have walked through the iconic scenes from A Room with a View, 1985. We talked about the superb cast and the romance aspects of the story, as well as the costumes and a bit about the book too, the source material by Ian Forster. So I wanted to thank Stephanie for all of your input and for joining us on this journey. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you for having me again. I love doing this with you guys.
Thank you so much. And then Kayla, as always, a pleasure to have my sister talk period dramas with me. I just love being able to chat with you two. This is so fun. Thank you.
Yes, that was the best. Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. And then also follow us on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel and a Patreon. So all those links can be found on our Instagram page. And thank you guys.
Catch you next time. Bye.